Welcome to Jackie's Groove. Come journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni.
Blessings, everybody. This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove, brought to you by Intertalk Radio. You're connected to all things music. Guys, got to tell you, as I say with all my broadcasts, I'm really looking forward to this one. I am looking forward to this one like you have no idea, because the music this gentleman lends his talents to has been the soundtrack of my life growing up. For the fact that I've been blessed with actually 3 generations of Earth, Wind, and Fire, from the times with Al McKay and Larry Dunn. And then currently we're now with John Paris and with Morris James O'Connor. And the list goes down the line. I'm really, really honored, because I got a lot of requests from listeners worldwide and very, very much loving all the interviews with Chicago and with Earth, Wind, and Fire. But one of this gentleman's biggest fans had sent me a private message, and she said, I know, hopefully I'm not stepping out of line, but I would really, really, really love, and I'm sure the fans worldwide would love to hear from Myron McKinley. I know he doesn't do a lot of interviews, but if you can reach out, we would really appreciate it. So with that said, I reached out, you accepted, and we're going to talk everything about Myron McKinley, his life growing up, and his tenure since 2001 with the amazing band called Earth, Wind, and Fire. So with that said, gentlemen and ladies out there, please welcome with open arms and open ears to Jackie's Groove, Mr. Myron McKinley. Myron, welcome, brother.
Hey, thank you so much, bro. Thank you for having me here. I appreciate it.
Hey, man, we want to throw special prayers up to, man. You're in the middle of Chatsworth right now, and everybody out there in America and the worldwide, California is dealing with some heavy, heavy, heavy situations with wildfires that are getting close to 80,000 acres that have been burning. And Myron's out there. So if everybody kind of throw a little special prayer to the man above to keep him and his family safe and sound and bring an end to this Armageddon out there, we'll go forward. But, we're going to heat it up here, no pun intended. And we're going to talk about Myron. So, Myron, with that said, brother, I know a lot about you, brother, but I'm going to act like I don't know a lot about you for the listeners out there. So I want you to educate me and the people worldwide. Okay. You were born and raised in L.A., and I'm going to let you take it from there. Tell me about your life growing up as a child in music.
Definitely born and raised in L.A. After going to USC, ended up doing a lot of exchange program in Germany. And I think that was probably one of the transitional places for me to actually really, really grow in music, because you were around. They only picked, I think, 14 students to go and take this trip. And you were around other people that, I felt like I was around other people that were like me. That,
right.
Growing up, nobody knew who Oscar Peterson was or Art Tatum. So these are your heroes, and you go to school and you tell people that, and they're like, who's that? But when I went to this place, there were, other students that practiced 3 hours or 4 hours, and there were other students that had the same love of music that for me. And so I think that was a real transitional place for me to really delve into music.
Let me ask you this question, Myron. Would you consider yourself a jazzer, a funk player, or all-around keyboardist, period? What would you label yourself as?
I wouldn't. I would say a hybrid.
Okay.
Like, for example, one of my favorite piano players is Kirk Franklin, and I think he was the epitome of the hybrid. He could do pretty much anything. He could play with Branford Marsalis a straight ahead like nobody's business, then get on Tonight Show and do one thing, and then play behind Sting. And I think if you're going to be a musician, you kind of have to do that, especially if you're going to play behind anybody. You can't be in one lane and decide to support somebody else and not know that arena that you're supporting.
Yeah, kind of like in that line of Joe Sample, that kind of a vibe itself.
Yeah.
the dearly departed
or
George Duke.
Even George Duke. Yeah.
Absolutely,
exactly.
absolutely. You know, and I've had the pleasure of playing with both of those gentlemen over the years. Back in '81, dating myself back, working with the Clarke Duke project, and man, another brother that was gone way too early in this situation itself. You know, and I want to find out from you, Myron, as a virtuoso when it comes to keyboards itself, who inspires you then and today? What keeps you going in the way of inspiration, musician-wise?
Starting out, I was a Chick Corea, just head. That's all I listened to was Chick for a while. Chick and Oscar Peterson, those two are my two main influences in the early stages. And I believe that I think every musician has certain things that are natural to them. And I think, I use the term linear and abstract. And I think, for example, like a linear player would be, let's just say, I'll use saxophone. Let's just say, like, you take a Cannonball Adderley as a linear player, because you can hear the melody, you can hear the lines that he's doing. Then you take an abstract player like John Coltrane, and I think every musician has something in them that kind of gravitates to some of that. Mm-hmm. And I heard Chick and Oscar more than Herbie at the beginning, and like Thelonious Monk. I heard those two more linear cats more than I heard the other ones until later. And I think those were like the beginning for me to just start hearing that stuff and just going, oh my God, this is amazing. Somebody can play like that. Art Tatum and Oscar Peterson and Chick. And then probably later on in the mid-teens is when they started gravitating to Herbie and all the other cats that were more into the abstract playing. And, as of now, I think Herbie is he's the epitome of what a musician should do. He's constantly striving for something different. He's always innovating different things. He's trying different things, and he forces you to not get content in where you are. Because, he could have stayed where he was, but he never stopped. I mean, I have stories that Stanley Clarke told me when I worked with him about things that happened with Herbie Hancock that he didn't believe, and then look what happened. I could tell you that, too.
Yeah, and we will share that, because, it's funny when you mentioned the fact about Chick Corea. Are we talking about Chick, or are we talking about Chick with our Return to Forever in that mode of his playing, before or after or during?
Kind of a little bit early Chick, before Return Forever. Towards the middle, or got into the right at that time when he first came out, his dexterity, his precision, and his approach was the epitome of a classical musician doing jazz. And that's where my background was. My teacher was from Juilliard. She was a pianist. Her name was Tanya Egan. And, I mean, she was amazing, but she was a Juilliard classical pianist, and that was my background. So I kind of identified with what Chick was doing, but the creative aspect of what he was doing was what was amazing. And then if you take the mathematical genius of Oscar and Art, what they're doing, it's ridiculous. But even Oscar would tell you when he would say study Bach. And so he's going back to a classical background as well to do the things that he's doing.
And you think about, I don't know if you had the opportunity yet, and I will send you the links when we get offline here, but I had a great interview, many interviews with Al Di Meola and also with Stanley Clarke. And actually, an interview that was actually heard around the world when Stanley and Al got into a fight on my show. And that's another story we can talk about, but I had no idea.
What? Are you serious?
Yeah, brother, let me just tell you something. I'm known for, Jackie's Groove is always known to bring on surprise artists, for musicians, brothers to brothers, and so on and so forth. So I felt it would be apropos that when I interviewed Mr. Clarke, that I'd like to surprise him with this gentleman by the name of Al Di Meola. And so Al and I go back years and so on, but I had no idea they hadn't really been speaking or on the best of terms. But Al so graciously accepting the invitation, and when I had said this, and I was talking to Stanley, and I said, with all the musicians, with Lenny White and with Chick Corea, and I kept going down the situation, I said, and also one of the youngest guitar players that you guys snapped up, and his first gig was at, in New York, when he was 19 years old. And I said, he goes, yeah, man. He goes, we're talking about Al. I said, yeah, we are talking about Al. And he goes, man, I love Al. I said, well, you know what? Instead of telling me how much you love Al, why don't you tell the world and tell Al directly how much you love him? So I go, Al, say hi to Stanley. Stanley, say hi to Al. And Al goes, Stanley, and this is what his response was. Al? Question mark, question mark. And then of course the CEO of my network is texting me saying, beautiful radio gold. So we start talking about everything else, and we're just talking about life and the pursuit of happiness and what was going on, and do you miss RTF, and is there a chance for RTF, blah, 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 blah. And I'm doing this, and all of a sudden, Al, if you know Al like anybody else knows, Al's a New Jersey boy, and he shoots from the hip.
Right.
And so, but the shot that he fired off was Scientology. That didn't go well with Stanley. And so Stanley responded by telling Al, hey, I don't talk about you being a Catholic. Don't talk about Scientology. And so, and all of a sudden I'm looking at this stuff and I'm like, would you please do not go this way? And so, and the network is saying, keep going, keep going. So I said to him, you know what? I said, will there ever be a chance of RTF making a comeback? And then Stanley said, in this business called music, I never, ever say never. And Al said, man. He goes, I have to agree with you. And so on. But Al goes, we ended too soon. We ended too soon. He goes, and we can only base that off of the effing Scientology. Then it starts. And all of a sudden, I hear Stanley say to Al, look at Al, I'm a little bit older than you are, and I'm a lot wiser. So Al starts to laugh. And I'm looking over here like, I look like Macaulay Culkin from Home Alone. My hands are now on my cheeks. And so he said, we are on Jackie's show, Stanley says, to talk about our music and our legacy, not talk about anything else. This is okay. I understand. Al says okay. But you have to understand, Stanley, the reason our demise was all about Scientology. Click. Stanley.
And that was it.
That was it. So the CEO was able to wrangle him back in, and he gets it back on the phone. And, of course, I'm sitting there saying we must have had a kind of a technical glitch. And he gets back on the phone, and Florentino says, Stanley. And he goes, hey, Florentino. And he goes, I think we lost each other. And they were very diligent on both sides. I guess we did. We didn't really talk about that. And then all of a sudden I go, Stanley, it's Jackie. I go, Stanley. He goes, who this? He got ghetto on my ass. And I said, Jackie goes, oh, hey, man. And I said, and I had to apologize. I said, I had no idea this was going on. Now, understand, my phone is blowing up from Al because Al now hangs up, but he's blowing my text up. And I could have sold that on eBay for millions. And the fact of the matter is, and it's a situation. But then I find out, too, from their publicist, from Michael Jensen, that I could be the main catalyst. We could be the catalyst, Intertalk Radio and Jackie's Groove, of hopefully getting everybody together. So we've got the feelers out for Lenny to come on and also for Chick to come on. And, but as they say, that will be seen. So with that situation, I had to bring that up because the fact of the matter is you work with Stanley. You know Stanley. Yes. You know how Stanley operates. Yes. And so on and so forth. And he's constantly reinventing himself and so on. And with that said, with all the bass players that you've been blessed to put your talents to, did you have a really good time with Stanley? Did you learn from Mr. Clarke?
Oh, my gosh. The first gig was surreal. I got introduced to him through a fellow piano player named Nick Smith, a very talented cat. And so he brought me on, and we go to Stanley's house, first time meeting him. He puts a chart up on. He said, okay, read the chart. And he goes, okay, solo. And then so I soloed over the chart, and he goes, oh, you sound like Nat King Cole. And so I'm so young and new at this time. He goes, I say, I don't sing. And he looks at me and starts laughing. He goes, oh, you don't know, huh? So he gives me like all these albums of Nat King Cole playing piano solo. And I was like, oh my God, it's
Give
like a singing Oscar.
Give us a timeline. How old were you? What year was this?
Geez, that's a good question. I'm thinking, let me go back and thinking early, maybe 30, something like that, or 31, something like that.
Wow.
Or if not younger. I can't even remember. It was just a long time ago. And then after we do that, he gives me the CDs. He goes, I'll see you in Brazil. That was it. First gig is in Brazil. No rehearsal. He just gives me all the charts. He just hears me play and goes, see you in Brazil. So I'm scared like crazy. I'm like, I'm about to play with this dude. There's no rehearsal. I don't know what's going on. And Nick's like, oh, you'll be fine. Just go ahead and study the music. So I study the music. I go out there. We go to Brazil. He gets up in front of the audience, and he starts playing this stuff. He starts doing the Stanley Clarke thing, and he's killing it, right? He's doing all, and I'm just grooving. I'm like, oh my God, listen to this dude. And then he finally looks at me and goes, play. I wasn't even playing. I forgot to play. I was just staring at him.
I mean,
so,
let me ask you, how bruised were your arms and your body from pinching yourself that you were actually not only in Brazil at a young age, but working with Stanley Clarke? I mean, did you? I mean, obviously, you just told us the fact that you forgot you were in absolute awe of the situation. But what did you learn from that situation, other than playing from that? Again, and I know just from other musicians that have gone through the Clarke camp that his charts are complex.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Correct me if I'm wrong on that in itself. So when you were playing with Stanley, were you doing more soloing or were you doing more comping around his playing? Share with us.
No, I was definitely doing more bass and more comping, and Nick was doing more soloing. But, because he wanted to have freedom to play lead lines on the bass. And it was, what I learned most from him, he had everything at a certain level for what he wanted to do. And he was easy with it. So you never got intimidated. You never got nervous. He never yelled. He never came off in a harsh manner. So you always felt a certain amount of freedom, but you knew there was a level that you had to be at to play it. And no matter what, he always did it.
When you said a level of playing, I mean, the fact that I've never worked with Stanley, did he allow you guys to stretch at all, or was it pretty much encompassed into a shell?
He would have elements where we could. There were elements where you could stretch. But most of it, he had a show that was definitely geared toward the audience. He knew exactly what to do and how to make what he did shine for the audience. And I learned a lot about how to structure a show because he would start out with a certain way where it get the audience really hyped, and he'd go into an intimate section, where it'd be him on an acoustic bass, playing amazingly, of course.
Right.
And then end with School Days and stuff like that. And it was different than the usual jazz set. It was almost more like a rock jazz set. You heard people dancing and rocking around, and I'm like, I've never seen this before. And
Myron, I'm going to stop you,
brother.
I'm going to stop you real quick. I hate to interrupt you. I got that clock going here. Can you see how fast the time goes? I mean, the time is blown by. We're at the first segment with Mr. Myron McKinley. You guys, we haven't even touched the surface yet itself. We're going to talk about, I like to call MDs the glue and keeping all the funky fools together. So when we come back on segment number 2, we're going to pick it up with Mr. Myron McKinley, musical director, Earth, Wind & Fire, amazing player. My name is Jackie Bertoni, Jackie's Groove, Intertalk Radio Network. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay tuned.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Intertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion, which burns deepest at night. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on intertalkradio.com.
This is Morris O'Connor, guitarist for Earth, Wind & Fire, and you listen to my good buddy Jackie Bertoni on Jackie's Groove.
Welcome to Jackie's Groove. Come journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's called Jazz 101 Fortified. Let me just tell you, those fingers, those keys, the black and whites, which a lot of keyboard players forget what the black keys are all about. This man has touched everyone.
Right.
And that man I'm talking about is Mr. Myron McKinley. Myron, welcome back to segment number 2 of Jackie's Groove, brother. I'm having a great time.
Thank
and,
you.
The listeners out there don't get a chance to hear us chopping it up off air and some of the things itself, and they're really not privy to that, and probably wouldn't want to hear it anyways. But with that said, you know what? I'm getting messages here on my feed. People wanting to know, they understand that you being a jazzer and so on, but they really want to know about this crazy group called Earth, Wind, and Fire. That you've been, and as I call you, you are the glue. Musical directors are the glue. You guys are the guys that keep the funky fools all together. The den father and so on and so forth. Even though you are not Philip Bailey, you're not Ralph Johnson, and you're not Verdine and Maurice, God bless his heart. But the fact of the matter is, you are the one that is responsible for keeping it all together on stage and prior to stage. I need to ask you as a musician myself, prior to going on, now right now, we can either talk about Earth, Wind & Fire as a solo or Earth, Wind & Fire as a duel with Chicago. But when you are getting ready to go on stage and everything else, I want to know as a musician, how much backtracking is Myron programming on this? Are we hearing everything as live players on stage?
Pretty much the only thing we have sometimes is the little extra lead lines. For example, like for After the Love, I'm playing the piano part, and I'll have the little mini move on. That part's being in the box. Sometimes there's the little backgrounds that are extra, and that's it. Or percussion, and that's it. I mean, all the keys are still the same. Philip hasn't changed any of the keys. It's pretty surreal when you think about it. It's like he's still hitting them notes like amazing.
I was talking to my wife earlier today. She said, "You looking forward to today's interview?" I said, "Of course I am." I said, "This is my family. Earth, Wind & Fire is part of me." And in fact, let me just share something with you, my brother. I do this with everybody else. Not only did I come from the school of Tower of Power. That's where I got my start back in 1979. And another amazing horn band. But Morris didn't know this, and John Paris didn't know this, and for the fact of the matter is, even Sheldon didn't know this. I had Sheldon on the show earlier this year, Sheldon Reynolds. Well, Jackie Bertoni, the gentleman you're talking to, I actually auditioned for Earth, Wind & Fire back in 1995. And
I heard that when I listened to Morris' show. Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. So to reiterate, the fact of the matter is that I, you talking about just the part about being scared.
I can't hear you.
That door. Did I fade out? Am I back? Okay.
Yeah.
So the fact of the matter is, when that doors opened up at center staging, and I saw the album cover looking at me, I got to be honest with you, my brother. I don't audition for bands, and that's I don't want to come across cocky. It's just that in my years in the business, it's almost somebody asking, for Myron McKinley to audition. You're going to get hired because of that. Needless to say, fast forward, I didn't get the gig, but I still, became and always will part of the Earth, Wind & Fire family. And the question I wanted to ask you is, when Philip asked me what I wanted to play, and I said, well, let's start out with Shining Star, and then I stopped at the first 8 bars, and he said, what's wrong? I said, I can't tell you how many times I've played this in a top 40 band, but now I'm playing it with Earth, Wind & Fire. And I was coming out of the school of Third World, in which Philip is a huge fan of Third World, and vice versa. But nonetheless, I just want to know you personally, and again, to be diligent and also be diplomatic when you answer this. But when you are on stage and you are playing, and you are the MD, you are the one that everybody looks to for cues and so on, even though they can do the cues in their sleep. But when you're up there playing situations and you're playing them, I don't want to say verbatim to the album or verbatim to what we know worldwide, are there certain songs in Earth, Wind & Fire's repertoire that are on your set list that during the original recordings, would you have changed anything on those original keyboard recordings?
Oh, no, absolutely not.
Okay. Not. I think it's a fair question, though, because go ahead.
I think, and I'll tell you what I think about. I think all of the things that make their music what it is and survive the test of time and be legendary and just touch people's hearts like it is because each part is so interconnected. I mean, everything plays off the other thing. And in the original recordings, there's a bunch, like I've heard some of the original recordings, there's actually a bunch of parts that are never on the album. So, for example, they might have 4 guitar parts from Myron McKinley, and Maurice, when he's mixing, might bring up one part here, one part here. So he's putting all these pieces together. And the same thing with the piano. It's like all these things kind of interconnect to make it be what it is. For example, for me, like listening to how Maurice, when he plays drums, coming from the jazz background, would lay back on the groove. And then Verdine playing bass, coming from the classical background, will play on top. But neither one of them ever move. So you have this constant tension in each track. You feel this movement, but nobody's moving. It's a groove, but it's nobody. It's like, no, it's everything that they did came across the way it's supposed to be. I mean, even the mistakes that Larry Dunn said at the end of sing a song, he goes at the very end of the song, he kind of plays this little thing at the end going out. Right. And he said he thought he thought they were done recording. So that's why they thought they did it. But when you hear it in the context of the whole song, you're like, that's great. It feels like, it just keeps uplifting.
And that's so cool because, all the years I've been blessed to work with the Beach Boys and work with the master Brian Wilson. And you talk about the word genius. And I'm going to put Maurice right in that field also, too, because there's things that we think that we know that we've been through the trenches and back, but there's certain things that are just bestowed on them by the good Lord above of being that one step more ingenious, more inventive, if you will. When I look back at all the music with Earth, Wind & Fire, I can tell you the songs that got me through my life. I mean, we on a magic box, all those songs. I won't sing to you, I promise. But the fact of the matter is, just I write a song for you, you write a song for me, we write a song, and it just those that vibe all the way around. One of my favorite songs of Earth, Wind & Fire that gets me in the greatest mood, and I wish you guys would do it more on stage, is a song called Sunday Morning. I love that song. I mean, that was just
ever done that since I've been in the group. Yeah.
Nope. No, and that's a shame, man, because if you guys get a chance, the listeners out there, go to YouTube and type in Sunday Morning Sheldon Reynolds, and it's just that there was that certain swagger that Mr. Maurice White had, and he would have his hips kind of flared out, and he'd be almost like walking in a groove, as opposed to his brother Verdine, who I refer to as the praying mantis. When Verdine just stomping the stage, and I think that was, I think that's amazing.
I call him the dragon.
You're the dragon, exactly. And that whole vibe of Earth, Wind & Fire. And for the listeners out there, if you haven't had the option or the opportunity to see Earth, Wind & Fire and Chicago on a dual bill, if that's the last concert you guys ever see, you need to do it. And I got to tell you something, brother. I would love to see Earth, Wind & Fire and Tower of Power together. Could you imagine that they'd have to reinforce the roof? I mean, between you and between Roger Smith on keys, I mean, him playing bass pedals in the B3, you comp and everything on top. Trust me, Earth, Wind & Fire is going. How many years is Earth, Wind & Fire as a conducive unit? You guys are approaching, 45 years now?
Yep, exactly. Yep.
Chicago, 50 years this year. Tower of Power, 50 years next year. So you know what that shows to the listeners out there? It's called relevant music. I don't care how many generations have gone through Earth, Wind & Fire's camp. The music is timeless. You know, when you're out on stage, brother, you know, and when I went and saw you guys, and when I'm in the audience and I'm looking at, I'm 57 years old, so I'm looking at people that are older than me, people that are at my age, people my age with their children and their children's children. When you've got 3 to 4 generations that are enjoying this music, I mean, you can be in the crappiest of moods. Go ahead.
The most touching thing is to see, you know, we'll play someplace, and, you know, I remember one time Philip's song, I Write a Song for You, and there's this older couple, you know, maybe mid-60s, and they just stood up and held each other and didn't watch us, but just kind of swayed to the song like it was their song. And it's moments like that where you see certain things that touch their life at a time, and we're playing it again, and we're bringing all those emotions back. So that music is, you know, different songs like Stevie Wonder and all of that. Those songs touch people's hearts, and you can tell it, and it gives something to the band, which makes us want to stay true to the music. You don't want to do anything crazy because you see that, and it was already there before you. So all you got to do is keep being true to what you're doing and play that.
You know, Myron, let me ask you this question also, too. I always ask people that are getting long in the tooth like you and I say that with all respect, but are your mom and dad still with us?
My dad is, not my mom.
Okay, I'm an orphan. My daddy died when I was 8. My mom passed away in 92. And I asked that question because, you know, we are from their loins. You know, we are their offspring. We are their creation. But there's nothing more beautiful than I would look out in the audience and I would see my mama smiling. You know, that glimmer in her eye, you know, and the fact of the matter. So I'm going to throw it back to you itself. Think about the first time mom and dad saw you on stage in the big leagues, if you will. Let's talk about Earth, Wind & Fire. Let's talk about, because you've been with EWF since 2001. Obviously, they love you, brother. I mean, and especially in this industry itself. So with that said, I mean, let's talk about like Universal Anthem. Let's talk about a 9,000-seat room. Let's talk about a 15,000-seat room. Isn't it amazing that you know when mom and dad are in the audience that you know exactly where they are? And when you saw them, when they were smiling at you, what did that do to your heart?
You know, my mom was quite unique.
How so?
Because that never affected her. That never, no matter where it was, how many people, that never affected her. She always was the one that, I mean, growing up, she would sit in the room with me while I practiced. Okay. And, you know, so when it got to the time when I started doing, I remember the first major gig where I got intimidated was in Vogue. I did in Vogue's gig. And that was like the first time I played in front of an audience, you know, a couple thousand people, 10,000, whatever it was. And so I called my mom and I'm like, I'm a little nervous. And she's like, nobody's going to be looking at you, baby. They're going to look at those girls. You know?
Oh, boy. They're from the words of mama. Exactly.
Right. She's like, nobody's going to be looking at you, baby. And it just kind of put it in a different perspective of, you know, when you're playing. Now, was she excited and overjoyed that I was doing it? Of course. I mean, I think the first time I saw her, a big smile was when we saw Whitney, when I was playing for Whitney Houston. She just lost it, you know. She was like, you know, she felt the connection with that, and she's like, oh, this is great. And even when she met Philip talked to her, and she told him, like, you know, you guys sound good together. That's what my mom said. And so she kind of didn't look at the crowd so much. She kind of was more of an individual one-on-one kind of person.
But that is, you know, that's so funny and that's so cool when you talk about that, because think about it for a second, you know, and I'll say this, I'll be older, and, you know, I've been happily married to a beautiful woman for 34 years. But when I saw In Vogue for the first time, and who knows if you were on the gig at that time, but when they would break out, never gonna get it, never gonna get it, that was the first part of a girl group. And every one of those women that were on stage were fine. And I mean that with F.
Oh, absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely
I mean,
gorgeous. I had a crush on 2 of them at least.
Well, let me ask you that question. So let's go back for that situation, because the bottom line is we are men. I mean, we're not Harvey Weinsteins, and I'll say that with tongue in cheek. But the fact of the matter is when we are surrounded, because I will tell you right now, Brother Myron, I am the biggest fanboy. If you've got talent and you're a woman, I will, you know, you'll have to remove me from your thigh like a schnauzer, because that to me, like the first crush I ever had on was Sheryl Crow. That was my first crush. Wow. You know, and just because, you know, and to this day, the woman is fine. But she's 48 years old and she looks, well, she's actually more than that. But there's certain girls out there that can just kill it. How did you keep it in check when you were taking the check from them? But how did you keep it all together from not letting your mind wander, going past the music?
You know, at that time, it was just more learning the skills of being on the road. That was the first tour. And so it would be great to see them, but I was around some great older musicians as well that kind of helped, you know, Greg Dawson, Sekou Bunch, amazing bass player, Tommy Organ, Derek Organ, Roman Johnson, who still plays with Stevie Wonder to this day. Those were the mentors that were there when I came. Kenny Crouch, of course, that was playing keys as well. So we just learned from, it was just enjoyable being around so many incredible musicians that I didn't really pay attention to them. We just, you know, we liked them when we saw them. They look great. But when we all started playing, that's when the focus shifted. And that's when you know that's your true love. Because if you're paying attention to too much other stuff, you're getting lost. But when they started playing, all our focus went straight to like, oh, listen to this music. Listen to what we're doing here. And that's where the focus stayed.
Hey, Brother Myron, let me ask this question this last minute and a half here. I'm going to touch on one of my favorite albums from Earth, Wind & Fire, the current one, which is called Now Then Forever. How much Myron is on that album?
Not a lot. I think I worked on a couple songs, maybe 2 or 3. I'm not sure. There's 2 or 3 because we were doing we did a bunch of things and then they put them in there. But it's 2 or 3. They did a lot of it was done by his son, Philip Duran Bailey. Right. Did a lot of stuff, and so it was more of that collaboration. We played on a couple things though.
Yeah, because you know, I try to explain to the listening audience out there, you know, as musicians itself, there's musicians that are amazing on stage, but don't transcend in the studio, and there's guys that are great studio players that don't transcend on stage. And the fact of the matter is why. And I was just talking to a dear friend of mine, Ron Powell, who's been with Kenny G for the past 30 years, and Diana Ross and Miami Sound Machine. But the fact is that Walter Osneff, their producer, he always brings in my mentor, my dear friend Paulinho da Costa, to play all the percussion parts. And when we get back on the second set, I want to find out from you, as a stellar player itself, what your feelings are. And the listeners out there want to know what the feelings are. Why isn't every musician on stage with Earth, Wind & Fire on the recordings? And I want you to elaborate when we get back on that situation and talk about how production views that situation. I want to educate them, if you wouldn't mind helping me out that way also. So with that said, gentlemen, ladies out there worldwide, I'm talking to Mr. Myron McKinley, the musical director of Earth, Wind & Fire. And we're going to talk about all of his other stellar gigs that he's had over the time when we just talked about In Vogue. So when we get back on segment number, believe it or not, 3 of the first hour with Mr. Myron McKinley, this is Jackie Bertoni, Jackie's Groove, brought to you by Intertalk Radio. You connect to all things music. Guys, don't go anywhere. Short break, we'll be right back.
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear, host of Sound Experience here on Intertalk Radio. And Source Connect by Source Element is the essential tool that we use to link between my studio in Austin, Texas, and the WS radio station in San Diego. Now, with Source Connect, not only can we communicate in real time and with HD audio, but it's synced up and is of a high enough quality that I can use it for real-time ADR work, remote recording, and overdubbing, and it even allows me to remotely control a DAW. Source Connect by Source Element. Affordable, high-quality audio and video connection over the internet for all of your production needs.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on intertalkradio.com.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Hi, this is Michael McDonald, and you're listening to my good buddy Jackie Bertoni on Jackie's Groove.
Welcome to Jackie's Groove. Come journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni.
If that doesn't bring you the holiday spirit, nothing will. Right. Guys, Jackie Bertoni, Jackie's Groove. Hey, man, we're back on segment number 3 with the incomparable Mr. Myron McKinley. We've been talking offline about situations about, the current state and status with Earth, Wind, and Fire. I've been, as I said earlier, I've been through 3 generations of there. I mean, I used to hang out on a regular basis when I was working with Tower of Power with Al McKay. And just, sharing the time I share with Morris James O'Connor, your guitar player, the time that I actually went to Al's house, the one that was up above Franklin. And when I walked into his home and I looked to the left, it was this huge fireplace mantle, Myron, and there were more Grammys, American Music Awards, BET, the list goes, NAACP Awards, and so on. And then I went to the boys' room, and I'll reiterate this. I was in the boys' room, washing my hands and pinching myself that I was in Al McKay's house. And, the Al McKay, that was one of the biggest inspirations for Earth, Wind, and Fire. And in the bathroom, now I'm not kidding you, there were gold and platinum albums on the walls and, get this, on the ceiling. But tastefully done. So when I walked out of the bathroom, I had this look on my face like I saw a ghost or God. And Al looked at me, and I swear to you, Al looked right at me and he goes, "Too much?" And we laughed our rear ends off, because the fact of the matter is, how could it never be too much? I mean, when you have that situation. So I want to go back to that situation with you, and I'm going to let you know right now, you have a fan. I found this out over the weekend from the CEO. You have another fan that is part of Earth, Wind, and Fire. His name is Larry Dunn. He digs what you're doing, brother. Man. So I'm gonna throw that at you, man. In fact, I got Larry coming on. Trust me. Yeah. Well, I've got him coming on the show. I think, if Florentino is around, I think we're talking about the latter part of this month, if not after NAMM. So maybe even at NAMM. I don't know yet. So when they bring it to me, I've been wanting to talk to this man. The network, except for myself, I wasn't feeling good over the weekend. They were at a place called The Rose in Pasadena, and Larry Dunn in the Earth, Wind, and Fire anthology was burning it up. Uh-huh. And so that's when they brought it up and said, "Hey, man, he says, I really enjoy Jackie's, support over with Earth, Wind, and Fire, everybody he's had on the group." Mm-hmm. And then he said the same thing too. He goes, he really needs to talk to Myron. And then here we are talking. So with that said, let me
tell you,
go ahead.
My thing about Larry Dunn is he has so much information that he has to play, so much. And for him to strategically put those little colors and things inside all the Earth, Wind, and Fire recordings and, playing, that's the genius right there. That, it's amazing to watch, because, somebody that has all that stuff, they have the tendency to overdo it because they have it. It's almost like a young up-and-coming basketball player that has all these skills. If you take Michael Jordan when he first started, he was great, but he didn't know how to apply it at certain times like he did later on. And Larry Dunn just, I mean, when you hear him do some other stuff, you're like, whoa. Then you hear him place little colors and all that stuff. It's like surreal. I mean, the things that he does on the shows, that the live recordings, is like, I studied all that stuff and go, this guy's amazing.
Amazing. And that's a good point that you brought up, because, I want to know the situation too. When you're talking about Myron McKinley being the musical director, A, B, the keyboard player that has all those beautiful sounds, the strings and so on and so forth, when you are playing the music, are you instructed by the three principals of the band to keep it as original or to add your flair on it? Elaborate.
The unique thing that we all do, and this is for everybody in the group, we have to play the core things of what makes that song. And that's been one of, I guess, in the band that we have now, that we've had for the last, since 2001, 2002. That's been an ongoing thing to try to do each year, to get closer and closer to what was there. And then when you do that, to also add yourself in it. Now, you can add feeling into playing the parts. That's going to be uniquely you. But you still are playing the parts. And that's the challenge. Like when Morris plays the guitar part, he could play the same part as Al McKay, but it's still going to have two different feels, because Morris is Morris and Al is Al, even if they're playing the same thing. So you got to kind of make sure you play your part, but you bring your own energy into it. That's what makes it unique. And so everybody tries to do the same thing.
And when I was asking Morris about, who works out the parts between him and Serge, is Serge playing more of the rhythm? Is Serge playing more of the lead? And so on. He goes, no, it's pretty interesting. He goes, we know, and it's worked out. It's we can again close our eyes and know what's coming in, what's going on. Because Serge is a mofo. That boy can play his rear end off, and Morris and so on. And I asked that situation, and it's very, very important to me as a musician and to the listeners out there that are fans with Earth, Wind, and Fire. But I have this question I have to ask you. When you walk out on stage, again, your work starts earlier, even before the roadies or the techs get out there. So when you're pre-programming this itself, are you trying to mix up the set list? Is it up to you? Whose position is it to write that set list? Let's forget about the Chicago collaboration. Let's talk about Earth, Wind, and Fire as itself on a 90-minute show. Who comes up with that set list?
Well, let's go back to first. We're dealing with each artist is different. Some artists want the show, they want it to be the same way every night.
Okay.
Like Whitney Houston, when we did our show, there was no change. It never was like, oh, we're going to do this different. No, this was the show, this was the song, we had the set list. Philip is not like that. Philip reads the crowd. And he's more of an organic, he'll get there, he'll look at the crowd, and he'll be like, okay, we got to change this, or we'll come up with this different set list, because he's reading some of the energy off the crowd. And I think that comes from just the Earth, Wind, and Fire legacy that they've always done. They started out playing these colleges, and they played all around, so they kind of know, and sometimes he'll do something, I'll be like, really? And in my head, I'll be like, I don't think that's the best idea. And then we do it, and I see the crowd, I go, okay, that's why he's been doing it this long,
Right,
so
right.
He can kind of see something ahead of time. So, yeah, he comes up a lot of times. He changes it a lot. I can come up with a set list, but he'll go there and he'll look at the audience and he'll come over to me and say, or what he does a lot is quarterback. I call it quarterback. He'll switch it in the middle of a show. Like one song got a certain reaction and he wants to keep that feeling go. He'll reach back and say, let's go to such and such. And it might not be something we played in a while. So we always have to be on our toes. Be like, boom, let's go, right next song.
So am I led to believe, or believing right now, what you're saying is that Philip seems to be the one that is out of, Ralph and Verdine. Is he probably the one that's more into the inner mechanics of the show? Is that fair to say?
They all are in different areas, but I think because some of the leads that are Philip singing, he's kind of judging what it is or how you can do his voice. You might not want to sing Fantasy right after singing, After Love or After Reasons. You might want to flip it like that. So there's a lot of inner mechanics that go from that, but it's definitely him looking at the audience and vibing that. It's definitely him doing that.
Let me ask you this question, brother, too. I'm looking at this list. I mean, I don't know who's got more of a former band, Tower of Power or Earth, Wind, and Fire. I'm looking at the, just the changeover and so on, and I bring that to the fact of both bands being huge. You get into the band because of your talent, and you've been there since 2001. Be honest with the audience out there and share with them what's keeping you there.
It's a family now. We're more of a family than some other families because we're around each other more than most other ones because we're on the road. Okay. You're constantly around 24 hours. I love each member for different things that they do. Verdine has always been supportive. Philip has always been like a little mentor. Ralph has always been a great friend. It's like everybody's there for a certain reason. I think that you become a part of keeping that legacy going. When you get in that band, you start to see, okay, this is not about me. This is not about this. Is
sure.
About, when we start playing, nobody's looking at any one individual. They're feeling what's coming off of the stage. And so that's something that you don't really see. And to me, they're the number one, group that's ever been like that. So it's like that alone in itself and the intricacies that you get to play with these different things. Because when you do the arrangements, like we play Rock That and all these different things, that's amazing. Even though you're not doing anything of yourself or you're soloing, but
right.
just to play the arrangements, that's amazing.
All right, but hold on a second. You just opened up a can of worms just now. You use the word family. Now, I'm Italian, and I love my family. I love my family, but I take a bullet for each and every one of them. But the thing is, it's time too, and we're sitting around over the weekend, and it's during the holidays, and we've heard the same stories over and over again. My mother-in-law and my wife and my sister-in-law and my sister-in-law, all they talk about is food, because that's all based upon one thing about it. I don't care if you're black, Italian, Mexican, it's all based upon food. I love that. But at the same time, too, when I'm done with the family, I'm done. I want to get in the car and I want to go home. So with that said, now this is your fault. You brought up the word family with Earth, Wind, and Fire. When you guys are done with the tour and you're done itself and you've got wardrobe put away and this is the last show, there's sure some melancholy in there too, but are you just happy to say, man, if I don't see you guys for another 2 months, I'm happy? I mean, this is the fact that
definitely.
Go ahead, share.
You definitely get to a point where you just need a break. I mean, but I got to say this. I mean, being with them and the people there and the maturity, everybody learns how to be a certain way with each person. So it's never act like I can't stand being around. It's never been that. Everybody's really respectful of each other's space. Now, more or less what you would want to, like for me at the end of the tour, I was like, I would rather let me go drive my car because I'm sick of being transported every place. It might be something like that. But as far as the people after the show, you can go do whatever you want to do. You can go to your hotel room, you can go eat, you can go hang out. So there's time to distance yourself and get your own space if you want that, because we're only on stage for 90 minutes. We might be on a tour bus, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be in the vicinity of everybody else. You can go in your bunk, you can do all these different things. So there's time to do those things, but it's definitely not a situation where you go, oh, I can't wait to get away from these people. It's not that.
Myron, do me a favor. Take us behind the velvet rope for one quick second. I always like to find this out for the listeners out there. I know just because of all the time I've been on the road and all the people that I've interviewed in the last 2 years. Let's talk about tour buses. Let's talk about those gorgeous $1 million Prevost itself. And there's usually what is called an ABC crew, the A being the principals, the B being the band, and the C being the crew. How many, let's start first, how many semis are on an Earth, Wind, and Fire tour?
4.
Okay. Tour buses.
4 tour buses. 4 tour buses, not including the trucks with the gear, but it's 4 tour buses, 2 for the crew and 2 for the band.
Okay, now and I want to go back to this because again the listeners want to know. Let's talk about Philip. Let's talk about Ralph, and let's talk about Verdine. Are they homeboys? I know they're road dogs, but are they hanging with the brothers? Are they hanging with the band?
Sometimes they do. Verdine very seldomly, but sometimes. I really have to say sometimes. Sometimes they'll come out and they'll hang hard, and then sometimes you just won't see them because they're doing different stuff. Philip likes to golf. I think Verdine, he's always setting up something, promotion or, all the stuff. So he's always working like that. And Ralph is either playing tennis. So you see him going to play tennis or he's playing chess. So they all have their thing that they like to do when they're off. So, and then there's times when we're all hanging out together where you just all of a sudden turn around and be like, oh, Philip's singing, or Verdine's singing, or,
cool.
I'll see Ralph eating breakfast all the time. And he'll be like, come over, and I'll eat breakfast with Ralph. So we always see different ones at different times, not like all together. Because even in the group, we all don't do that. Everybody kind of switches off and just their own thing.
I love that. And I asked that question for a situation because you and I are hired guns, if you will, for the lack of a better term. We're the name below the marquee, supporting the names above the marquee, and that's okay. But my question I want to ask you itself, because, again, too, the groups that I grew up listening to, then I find myself either on recording or on stage with them, it still blows me out of the water. One of my dearest friends since 1990 is this white and blue-eyed soul singer by the name of Michael McDonald. Now, Michael, to me, is he's coming to his own. His voice is more beautiful now, as proven by his current release called Wide Open, that was released in September the 15th. Now, when I'm hanging out with Michael, or if I'll get a rogue text at 1 o'clock in the morning saying, "Hey, man, you're probably sleeping, but I was just thinking about you," and so on, and I'll wake up the next morning and I'll look over my wife, and and I'll smile, and she goes, "What?" And I go, just Michael just sent holiday blessings to us, and so on and so forth. Even though he puts his pant legs on one at a time, even though he poops and pees just like you and I do, he's still an icon. And I'm asking that question because when you're sitting down and you're breaking bread and you're looking across and you're looking at Philip Bailey, you're looking at Verdine, you were looking at Maurice, God rest his soul, and Ralph, does it still seep into your system and your heart that this is Earth, Wind, and Fire? Or are you used to it now?
I mean, no, definitely. You can get to a place where you're kind of there, but then they'll say something or do something. Each one of them has done something where all of a sudden you go, okay, I remember. It all comes back.
Right.
Like Philip will sing something and you just be like, that's not possible. He shouldn't be there. Verdine will play Verdine has played some stuff while we were sound checking that I've stopped sound check and told everybody to get off stage because we were done. Because what he did was so amazing. I'm like, we don't need to even play anything after that.
You did?
It's like all of them have done something or said something that you realize that you're in the presence of a legacy person, a legend.
And I appreciate that because let me ask you this question. I know with Third World, the most prominent reggae band right below Bob Marley, and those are my boys. In fact, they'll be on the show latter part of this month. But my question I wanted to ask you, and there's that damn clock again flashing, but I want to find out, and again, bringing my audience behind the velvet rope, I want to find out more about your sound checks. And if in the fact that you guys are actually doing a sound check and not having the crew do it for you. And I'm curious about that. So I'm having a great time, brother. I'm looking at this plethora, this mound of information. We haven't talked about Whitney. We haven't talked about your other situations, and we will, but it's your fault for being involved with the group called Earth, Wind, and Fire. People want to know about it. And so we're gonna beat that. Yeah, we're gonna beat that quintessential dead horse till it wakens up again. So everybody out there in this world that's listening to Jackie's Groove and Jackie's Bertoni, this guy babbling here on Inter Talk Radio, I'm blown away, man, because I'm a fan of this man. And I'm so glad I was able to
Thank you.
To take care of and take care of my listeners out there that want to hear from you. I will be honest with you. This is a pre-recorded situation, guys. So we'll come up with the date that we'll put this out there because people want to know. So with that said, guys, coming on the second hour, segment number 4 of Jackie's Groove with my in-studio guest. I love this brother. It's Myron McKinley. Guys, don't go anywhere.
Thank you so much.
Short break. We'll be
all
right
right.
back. Stay tuned.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear from Eclectica Studios. I'm a full-time mixing and recording engineer. I work with Grammy winners, labels, and indie artists, using state-of-the-art digital mixing and restoration tools and the very best in analog gear. Really, though, it's my ability to bring tracks to life and fulfill your vision for your music. This has made me sought after by producers and artists worldwide. So spend your time working on music and not chasing a mix down a rabbit hole. Go to timdolbear.com and check out our free one-song mix offer.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Hi, this is Al Di Meola, and you're listening to Jackie's Groove with Jackie Bertoni.
Welcome to Jackie's Groove. Come journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni.
Everybody, welcome back to segment number 4, the second hour of this 2-hour interview with Mr. Myron McKinley. You guys, we talked about, about doing things, about pre-recording and so on and so forth to kind of fit things into the schedule. But when you can't listen to Jackie's Groove live, I want you to do yourselves a favor and do us a favor and go on to Google Play or iTunes and download our easy-to-use and easy-to-navigate application. 2 words, Intertalk is the first, radio is the second. Take Jackie's Groove and the plethora of other shows we have on our amazing network on the road with you when you can't listen. So, but you are listening to this right now. I'm having a great time because it's 1,000 questions. Now, we're talking about Myron McKinley, musical director for Earth, Wind & Fire. We know the songs, In the Stone, September. I can go down, I can give you every song that's in their portfolio. But the song you just heard on the top of the 4th segment itself, now that was the trio. And, one says, okay, so if you're a funk player, if you're a classic R&B player, what motivates you to get all up in the you-know-what of keyboards to play that kind of music? So I asked you in the first part of our interview, Myron, do you consider yourself a jazzer? Do you consider yourself a funk player? And you said you consider yourself a hybrid. Now, with that said, when you're coming off the road with Earth, Wind & Fire, with Whitney Houston, with In Vogue, and we're going to go deep into that also, how fast do you run to the trio, and why?
We are getting a lot of things happening off of the album and off of the trio, and so we're getting a lot of more work to happen. So it's a lot to come into. But I got to say, when I come off the road, if we have the gig, it's going to take a good week to practice. Because the songs that we play fight back. That's the term we use. They fight back. We try to play them, and they end up playing us.
Exactly.
It's like when we do it, we have to take some time and get it back under their fingers. And the cats I'm playing with, Stacey Lamont Sidnor and Ian Martin, they're incredible musicians in their own right. And I think what makes it work is because I think we're all are hybrids. I think we all are, because we all have played behind everybody. We play behind everybody. Stacey played with the Jacksons after Michael, and Ian played with David Foster, playing all these different types of tons of gigs with Barry Manilow. So to go from that to this, you have to be able to transition your mind, your thinking, your feeling to play those different things. But it's definitely got to be there. And I think that's what makes it great for us to be able to switch those things around to play.
What made you go after these 2 gentlemen you just spoke about?
Actually, it just kind of fell into place. I would do every year. I would go to different NAMM events and just play to say thank you to the endorsers that help me out. And this year, the last 2013 we played, that was a combination I had. I had Stacey and I had Ian. And I think the combination of those two players, and then also Stacey, the drummer, asking me, man, you got to play your song, which is E12. It's like, you got to play your song. And I'm like, no, we don't need to play that. It's too cerebral. I don't think we should do it. Right. And he's like, you got to play it. You got to play it. And I kid you not, the next 2 days was, off the charts. It went viral off of a song that wasn't supposed to be played. And that's how it happened. And then I think, like I said, after we kept playing more and more together, right, that vibe that you get between people just clicks. Like an example, No Return Forever. They didn't know it was going to be that until they started playing enough together to go, oh, wow, we have a thing.
Myron, let's jump back to the segment before last. We talked about the musicians, the cats that are great on stage but don't really do well in the studio, and vice versa. Okay. And there's a handful of us that sound great in the studio. I'm raising my own hand. That's where I've been making my living for the past 15 years. And I mean, I love the big crowds. I love the the immediate response from that, other than sitting in front of an engineer going, "Okay, Jackie, next track, Shakers." But the fact of the matter is, when you get a chance, and I'm going to go back to the millennials. Something they're missing out there is a thing called liner notes. You can be the baddest mofo in the studio, man, but the bottom line is what ends up on the record proves the fact of what's there. I know myself, particularly speaking, I'm going to go back and throw this back at you, but when I go into the studio as a hired gun, I give the producer 3 times the amount of percussion that they need, because they can do what they want with it, or they can see where I was going with it, and then they can bit and piece it. That's the benefit of technology of today, if you will, and doing it out of my home studio and so on. So, but with that said, when you are in the studio, and I'm going to throw this back to what I talked about Ron Powell from Kenny G's band. Here, Kenny's had the same band for 35 years. Robert Damler, Al Johnson, the list goes down the line, and Ronnie Powell. And then people have asked me as a musician, they said, well, you're playing live with the bands, but you're also on the albums. I said, yeah, because I'm a studio guy. I know what a producer's looking for. I work with the same production companies because they know they don't have to stand over me. They know when they sit there and say, I just need a shaker track. They're going to get that, but they're going to get 3 different types of shaker tracks. So when the layman, when the fans are out there and they break open the new Earth, Wind & Fire album or the album beforehand, and they don't see keyboards only by Myron McKinley, guitars by Morris James or Serge or the like, I asked Ronnie, and a lot of the listeners wanted to ask also, does that upset you? Ron's response was, no, it doesn't upset him. For the fact is, Ron goes, I'm not a great studio guy. I'm just starting to come into studio. So when we talked about, the situation about being on an album, on the stage with Earth, Wind & Fire and so on, and finding yourself not on the recording or being the sole keyboardist on the album, how do you feel about that? I mean, do you understand that? The production companies are going after the players that they're comfortable with. But do you get butthurt over that, the fact that you're not on the whole album? Share with us.
Oh, absolutely not. No, I feel that each producer brings their own crew that they have working with. Sometimes they'll request a band, and sometimes they'll have their own crew. They'll have the guys that played the original, and they want them to play with it as well. And so if that's the feel that got the song on the album, then go ahead. I think I would have a problem if I never did anything with him, but that's never been the case. So, different, like even Al's not on every Earth, Wind & Fire song. Larry's not on every. Of course. Sometimes it was David Foster. So those different flavors add to the same thing. So, no, I never felt that way.
And Myron, let me ask you this question. It's going to be a very, very, very tough question, but I like to throw it every once in a while, especially when someone as intense as you are and you're playing. Think about all the hits that are on the radio right now, stuff that you grew up with, stuff that's out right now. Is there a song that you can think about right now that you wished you played on that's a hit?
Oh, that's a lot of songs.
That's a tough question, man.
Even though it is a tough question, but I'll just throw one out there. There's a bunch of them, but the one that kind of sticks to my mind, even though I love what he played, I just wish I was a part of it, is Bonnie Raitt's I Can't Make You Love Me. Bruce Hornsby playing the piano on that is amazing. I mean, that style that he adds to that song is just beautiful.
And I say and I say this too, with again the feeling of passion, but that's about as naked as you're going to get when it comes to playing. When you have a voice like Bonnie, and it's like as I share with the listeners out there, when you're sitting with somebody like with Michael McDonald, and you have his keyboard player Pat Coyle, and it's just that voice and keys, or when Michael's singing just from voice to his own keys. There's really nothing to blanket anything else. It's raw, it's upfront, and it's there. So that, and that's one of my favorite songs, from Bonnie itself. It's been covered by so many people, and there's songs out there also too that have been covered. And in my opinion, I did a song called, do you remember the old tune called Dancing in the Moonlight? Remember that tune? Dancing in the Okay. So I work with a great iconic Hawaiian by the name of Henry Kapono, from Cecilian Kapono, Hawaii. We redid this album called Spirit Dancer, and we did Dancing in the Moonlight. I bring this up for the fact is that song sounds better when he sang it than the original recording. And sometimes it does happen, but it's a situation too. When I look at situations with Earth, Wind, and Fire, now we're both believers. We're both, we both are men of faith. I can speak for myself. I can speak for you. But there's a brother out there right now that I've been wanting to get on the show, and I will get on the show. And his name is called Kirk Franklin. Kirk was blessed to do an album with his faith of all the music of Earth, Wind, and Fire. His rendition of September, I like better than Earth, Wind, and Fire's. Forgive me for saying that. There's just something about, man. I mean, if you don't have the track, I'll send it to you via email. You got to listen to what this boy did on it. He washed it up.
And I think that goes back to what we were saying about feelings and different flavors. Because each one's going to approach something different to you. And I think, for example, like let's take Anita Baker's Angel, and then to take Layla's Angel.
Dig it.
It's they're both incredible. But, I end up playing more of Layla's version than Anita's version. Even though I know it's a tribute to Anita.
Right.
It's just the feeling that you get. I mean, you might like the way that person approaches it when they're singing it.
I'm smiling right now because I asked that question. I'm thinking to myself, should I have asked that question? Yeah, I should have, because it's my show, damn it. And and it's funny. I had an interview. I had an interview yesterday with Selena Albright, Gerald Albright's daughter, and she's killing it. With her new album is called Conversations, and she's killing it. And I'm going to ask you at the end of a show also if you'd be so kind to give me a radio drop, like you've been hearing on the commercial breaks. I would honor me with that if you would. But Selena has a song called, and Florentino, correct me if I'm wrong, You Make Me Want to Eat Something. And Florentino says, we have so many radio drops of Michael McDonald and Morris James and Al Di Meola and so on. We don't have any estrogen. So she gave me a radio drop that said, "Hi, everybody, this is Selena Albright. You're listening to my good friend Jackie Bertoni on Jackie's Groove. Listening to this show makes me want to eat something." And I went, well, do you really want to put that up? She goes, hey. She goes, I'm a grown woman. And she goes, and the fact is, I know what it means. If you want to believe into that, that's up to you also. So the fact is, when I listen to Earth, Wind, and Fire's music, it inspires me. But what I want to ask you, brother, we talked about just a second ago with Kirk Franklin and September versions of Earth, Wind, and Fire. If I was to hijack your music player, if I was to jump in your car with you, and we're going to go for a nice couple-hour drive like we're doing right now, what's going to be in your player? What am I going to listen to? What's on shuffle?
Oh my God, a little bit of everything. There's a lot of Brahms and Beethoven. There's a lot of Herbie. There's a lot of folk guitar. There's a lot of Bill Withers. The live version where they did it at BBC, where you hear all the cats playing. Oh my God, it's so amazing. It's so funky. Fly Family Stone. You got a couple Pharoah Monk. You got some little Jay-Z. You got a little bit of pretty much everything in there. You know, everybody hates riding with me because it's not one emotion. You're gonna go from some ballad to somebody singing this to somebody rapping to, you know, so it's just a little bit of everything. That's what I grew up with. You know, I grew up listening to a little bit of everything.
You just mentioned Thelonious Monk. I'm sure you're hip to our brother John Beasley. Have you got a chance to see his Monkestra? Have you had a chance to be blessed with that yet?
No. When we were taking lessons at USC, at the USC Performing Arts School, when we were in elementary school, Wynton Marsalis came and taught us. Me, myself, and Eric Reed were studying under Wynton Marsalis. And when he came and heard us play, and I think we were like 13, 12 or 13, 11, 12, something like that. He heard us play. He came back the next day with 9 Thelonious Monk albums apiece. He gave it to each of us. And he said, learn these. And that was our introduction into Thelonious Monk. And he said it like this was the prerequisite of playing piano.
I recommend you hooking up and seeing John's show because it will tear you out. It is ridiculous.
Wow.
I mean, just the spin that he put on it, man, and to have the balls to go after that kind of music is amazing. And so with that said, brother, I'm having a blast, man. I'm having a blast with you, man. It's 27 seconds left, and we're going to be heading out of 4 into 5. It feels like we've been talking for 5 minutes, man. So when we come back, guys, throw some more questions out. Yeah, throw some more questions out. I want to throw them to Myron. I've got 1,000 more questions. I want to get back to a woman by the name of Whitney Houston, another angel that left us too soon. And I want to find out more about that. So, you guys, my name is Jackie Bertoni. It's Jackie's Groove, Intertalk Radio, connect to all things music. Coming up on segment number 5 of a 2-hour interview with my in-studio guest, the wonderful, the incomparable, one sexy mofo by the name of Myron McKinley. Guys, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back from a short break.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Intertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on intertalkradio.com.
This is Morris O'Connor, guitarist for Earth, Wind & Fire, and you listen to my good buddy Jackie Bertoni on Jackie's Groove.
Welcome to Jackie's Groove. Come journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni.
I don't know if you guys aren't bopping your head like I'm bopping it, then you got to come with some state. Guys, welcome back to segment number 5. Jackie Bertoni, Jackie's Groove, brought to you by Intertalk Radio. Connect all things music. Hey, John, Myron, before we go on any further, I got to say thank you to our sponsors, the crazy people here that write those checks for us. And so I want to say, first and foremost, hello to my boy Calvin Lee and the Motley crew over at Pitbull Audio. Pitbull's motto is, I just want you to play it loud. Visit them at pitbullaudio.com. Somebody, I'm sure, Mr. Myron McKinley is familiar with, a company called SIR, Studio Instrument Rentals. You can reach them at sir-usa.com for all of your backline and studio rental needs. And also, too, people that I'm really biased to. Sabian Cymbals, my simple choice for the last 24 years, Sabian.com. Vader Percussion, Vader.com, Vater.com. 25 years supplying me with my sticks that I've been playing, and also Drum Workshop. Don Lombardi, Chris Lombardi, and John Good, the #1 drum source in the industry itself, and also the new owners of my favorite company called LP Music. My percussion choice in 28 years, man. And also, too, for those of you out there that like bling, that like the little extra sparklies around your hands and your arm, please visit our good friends at Bling Group. That's BLINGGROUP.com for all of your diamond needs. Their tagline is adding a little extra bling into your life. But I'm going to tell you what I'm going to be back and bringing back in is this gentleman by the name of Myron McKinley. Myron, I have to ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
Now, I want you to step back to 1983 when this young girl came out on the industry by the name of Whitney Houston. And she had that song called How Would I Know? And that little beautiful face, man, with that hair that was up, with that schmata around her bandana and so on. When were you? Give me a timeline of when you were working with Miss Houston. What time was that? What year?
1999 and 2000, a little bit in 2001. That was the years I worked with her.
Do you remember who the band was at that time?
Oh, yeah. On guitar was Jubu Smith, an incredible guitarist. Bass, incredible guitarist. He plays with Patti LaBelle now. Alex Evans. Keyboards is one of the teachers, professors at Berkeley now, is Gerald De Silva. Very friend of mine, incredible keyboard player. Drums and the music director was Mike Baker, incredible drummer. I mean, yes.
Michael Boy, that's my boy.
Phenomenal drummer. Let me see who else. Am I leaving anybody out? That was the band.
It's understandable.
Oh, Taku Hirano. Taku Hirano was on percussion. Amazing.
That's my boy, man.
Sure
Taku is.
Yes.
Let me tell you, that boy is crazy. And with all the stuff that he's done for, all the stuff he's done with the Immortal Tour, and then the work he's done with Lionel Richie and so on. So we had him on last year. Had a great time chopping it up with him. I have to ask you this question, and a lot of the listeners want to know also, because we lost Whitney way too soon to this wonderful thing called drugs.
Yes.
I'm saying that with just animosity. Did she show any signs of any things going on at that time in her earlier stage, or was she Whitney at that time?
You know, I only saw her sick once, and what I mean by sick, it just looked like she was under the weather. And but other than that, the whole tour, never saw anything. I mean, and she was she was a night owl. She would have Michael, who was the music director, call me at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, and he would call me and say, Myron, can you come downstairs? Whitney wants you. Because she wanted to sing. So she'd be up and she'd have a couple of drinks and she wanted to sing all night. And so she would call me. I mean, this would happen at least twice a week.
How pure was that voice? How pure was that voice, just sitting down behind the keyboard and you, the two of you?
She would have the band who traveled with us in tears. It was amazing. She was amazing. She had a complete control of the audience. She knew exactly what she was doing for her stage presence, her voice, you know, when the way she would hold notes and piercing. So you just see the whole audience in tears, crying.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, it was touching.
And so I want to step back onto the situation of working with her. Can I ask you a very unfair question, and you better be honest with my listeners and myself? Think about your history. Think about the who's who that Myron has played with, and definitely not excluding Earth, Wind, and Fire, your current employer. Be honest with me. Who was your favorite group to work with to this date?
I got to be honest, I don't have a favorite because everyone did something different, brought something different.
Okay, fair.
I think with Whitney, it was a unique thing of learning how to be an accompaniment, a piano player for that type of singer. Like you were saying earlier, where this person just has this voice and you got to know how to comp behind them. Right. And not be in the way, but be enough to make them feel like they're being pushed so they can do what they have to do. That was the learning curve. Because whenever we did the ballad section, most times I was playing I Will Always Love You. I was playing a lot of the ballad stuff. So, and the stuff that was Without Time would be with me playing behind her. So it'd just be piano and her. They had a grand piano on the side of the stage. And that was a big learning curve. Now with Earth, Wind & Fire, it was, like I said with Stanley, it was learning how to focus on just playing those parts. Before I became the MD, it was learning, okay, wait a minute, it's just this. It's not the seventh. It's not the ninth. It's just this chord. It's just the sus chord. And it's a discipline that you have to learn to do when you have other information. It's a discipline. You have to discipline yourself to realize that what you're going to play is going to make what that guitar player is playing sound good. So if I'm playing the ninth and he's playing the ninth, now we just lost the color because I'm playing the same thing he is, as opposed to me playing what I'm supposed to play and he plays that. Oh, there's the color again. And so once you start realizing that you're a part of the whole piece, then you start to get that discipline and be like, okay, I got to play this. This makes a difference. One of the best lessons I learned was from when Maurice came to one of the rehearsals. And this was a testament to his genius as well and his personality and direction. Was he came to the rehearsal and we're all playing the song and we're playing it that we think it sounds great. We're killing it to us. And he comes in and he bobs his head a little bit for about a good maybe 15 seconds. And then he slowly walks to each member in the group and whispers something in their ear. He didn't tell anybody to stop playing. He just went to each member in the group. He whispered something in the ear. And they made a little adjustment, and then he went around. Now, I don't know what he said to anybody else. He came to me. He said, take your left hand out and don't play that type. Don't play the rhythm in the left hand. Just play the chord in the right hand. That's all he said to me.
How did you do
But
he
went to everybody. Oh, it was great. But the thing, when he did it, you could feel in the room everybody slowly shift. So after, when he was done, the song it was almost like, okay, there's the song. It's like, oh, there it is. Wow. That's what it is. Now it's not like a band that's on the side. It's not like a house band playing it. Now it's Earth, Wind & Fire because just the adjustments he just told everybody to do.
That's deep, man. That you couldn't have drawn a better picture that way because the fact of the matter is he sat there and told you guys not to stop playing, and he was able to direct you during the play. And all of a sudden, everything
it was the smoothest thing ever. It was
there you go.
The smoothest thing ever. I mean, he didn't come and say, "Oh, this is wrong." No, he just slowly went around everybody. I mean, and each one of them have something. The first gig I did with Philip as a music director, it was horrible. To me, it was horrible. And Philip came to me after the show. It's like, we got through that one, and I was like, wow. So his attitude was, okay, that was just the first one. The next one's gonna be better. And sure enough, we ended up killing that tour, the first tour. But, that mindset that they have from being in those trenches and doing all the stuff that they've done, you could see in the way Maurice did it on that situation was like, oh, my God. You could tell everybody made a little adjustment. It was like a little click, and boom, the Lego just stuck together. And then it was Earth, Wind & Fire. It wasn't, some club band. It was Earth, Wind & Fire playing, just from those little adjustments.
Okay, now here's another unfair question, and I say that not as a negative thing, but I'm going to make you think again. When you walk,
a lot of unfair questions.
Yeah, man, but unfair means honesty, brother. Let me just tell you.
Okay.
But when you're walking on stage, I don't know where your set list is. If it's on the floor, if it's on top of your keyboard, wherever it may be. When you look at that set list, that is again co-produced by Philip Bailey and so on and so forth, as you said earlier. Is there a song on that set list that makes you smile ear to ear that you cannot wait to get with? And what song is that? Share with my audience.
Probably there's a lot of them, but the one that I think I like the most is devotion. And the reason I say that is because that you can feel something from the three guys when they sing that. There's something happening that us that didn't start with them can see, can feel, but we're not a part of it. We're still playing it, but you could tell when Philip starts singing Devotion, when Brandy starts singing Devotion, and Ralph gets there, you've seen that they've actually cried. I've seen them, playing the song, and nobody said nothing, nobody's doing anything. It's just going to be an emotional time, and the crowd is reacting to it, and they're just going in. And there's something about that song, Devotion, that is tying that group together.
And you said something right now that made all the sense in the world. You said the band, the principals were crying, but let me just tell you, and real talk, when you're on stage with Earth, Wind & Fire, when I'm on stage, whoever I'm playing with, and you're in the middle of a song, and you're looking at this sea of faces out there, and then the vocalist stops singing, but the audience is singing, their intonation is perfect, word for word, every change, every note that is in place. I get choked up to know that is the soundtrack of their lives. Just amazing that the music and the chords and the words can evoke emotions. Because I personally believe, Myron, if you don't have music in your life, you have no life. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to be so stringent on that, but music is breath. Music is everything. I don't start a day without listening to music. I don't go to bed at night without listening to music. And so on.
Yes.
Now, I have to ask this question. The song that we started out segment 5 with, which I want to say, Rufus much? Tell me about that tune. It's like Rufus and Stevie Wonder, had a child. Tell me about that song. Where's that from?
Well, I'm a big Beatles fan. I love the Beatles. And the song Eleanor Rigby, I think, is so apropos today. Look at all the lonely people, because nobody talks to each other. Everybody's sitting at the table looking at their phone. And even, this was before that, but it's still the same message. And when I did it over, I wanted to do it, approach it like a Sly and the Family Stone. Just nasty and dirty. And that's what came out of that. And boy, it was, when we started playing it, everybody just lost their mind playing that song. It came into its own afterwards, and people sung along. It's like, even with the groove being like that, when we performed it, people sung along because they still feel the message of the song. It's just got a different flavor on it now.
Hey, Morris, can we step back to the year 2001 for a second? We talked about your time with Earth, Wind & Fire and the years that you'll be blessed to play with the boys. But let me ask a question. Where were you at the time that phone rang, or that carrier pigeon or the smoke signal came across that said, hey, there's a chance for you to join this band? Do you remember that day, where it was, what happened, what you were feeling? Share with us when you got that call.
When I first got introduced to the band, actually, we were on tour with Whitney. We were leaving. I met Verdine in the elevator, shook hands, spoke, and then got introduced. The next time, I was submitting songs to them. And so I was submitting songs for their album. So I submitted some songs to Philip. Philip liked the song, so he called me to the house. And he was like, who's playing the piano on this stuff? I was like, me. And he looked at me and he goes, oh, you sound, have some of the Charles Stepney things in the arrangement. And I was like, okay, thank you. And that was it, So I get a call maybe about 2 weeks later saying, hey, we need a keyboard player for 2 weeks. And at the time, I was working with Stanley Clarke on film scoring. We were doing I think Romeo Must Die, or one of those shows, Love Jones, one of the shows he was doing at the time. And so I was like, well, we're off for 2 weeks. I can do it. And so I told Philip I could do it. He's like, okay, came in there, did the rehearsal. When I did the gig, I didn't expect to be in the band. I was thinking I was subbing for Cat for 2 weeks. Next thing I know, after the second gig, Philip calls me in the room and says, I want you to be in the band. That's when things started. And I was like, oh, this is for real.
Who'd you call? So, when you found out? Who was your first call when you found out?
I think I called my best friend at the time was Greg Eaton. I called him. I called my mom, called my dad, told them. And, then the first thing I did after that was like, I have a lot of stuff to learn. have a lot of music to learn because their discography, their music is CDs on top of CDs that you got to learn, and they don't never really do all of them. Like you said, they haven't done Sunday Morning since I've been in the band, but there's always that chance they can pull something off and be like, oh, let's do this song,
Are you allowed to suggest songs? When I say allowed, do you feel that it's your apropos or your place to say, hey, Philip, I really would love to play X song? How would they? What is that presentable to them?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Okay. We've done that a couple times, and we've integrated them into the show. And like I said, the show changes. So depending on what they're trying to do. Like this year, they did a lot of production. They had a lot of staging to go along with it. They had a LED screen in the back that showed a lot of footage and a lot of things that go along with the show. So they geared the songs to go with that. Now, depending what they try to do each year, they might change those songs. Like we had a whole I Write a Song and section where we broke out the acoustic guitars and strings and all these different things. And then when we did the Greek, we had the orchestra with the 70-piece orchestra that played all the different. So depending on what's there, that's when they change the songs to that. And actually, that's when we get rocked at.
I dig it. Hey, you know what I'm not digging, brother? I'm not digging the fact that we've only got one more segment together, and we could go 2 more hours.
Yes, sir.
So when we come back on the last segment 6 of a 2-hour interview with Myron McKinley, we're going to bring it all about Myron. We're going to find out where you can stop this gentleman, his URLs, and people to support him in the way of equipment. Guys, don't go anywhere. Jackie Bertoni, Kentucky Groove, Intertalk Radio, connect. Stay tuned. Segment number 6 is right around the corner. Don't go anywhere.
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear, host of Sound Experience here on Intertalk Radio. And Source Connect by Source Element is the essential tool that we use to link between my studio in Austin, Texas, and the WS radio station in San Diego. Now, with Source Connect, not only can we communicate in real time and with HD audio, but it's synced up and is of a high enough quality that I can use it for real-time ADR work, remote recording, and overdubbing, and it even allows me to remotely control a DAW. Source Connect by Source Element. Affordable, high-quality audio and video connection over the internet for all of your production needs.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on intertalkradio.com.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Hi, this is Michael McDonald, and you're listening to my good buddy Jackie Bertoni on Jackie's Groove.
Welcome to Jackie's Groove. Come journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni.
as written by my dear friend Sayeda Garrett, Man in the Mirror, man. Let me just tell you something. You know what, man? I'm bummed, man, because I feel like I've known this man for years. I've known his music for years. This gentleman I'm talking about is Myron McKinley. We are in the last segment. And I got to tell you something, Myron. You know, I kind of set things up because, you know, we always say that, you know, you are the glue that keeps things going. I'm very, very proud to be the flagship show in our network. I'm very, very proud. But again, too, I don't carry this moniker by myself. I can't do it without my team. I can't do it without Cedric, who was manning the board today. I can't do it without his girlfriend, Megan, who's the one that's been in contact with you and your assistant. Paul Berzetsky, the COO, and the main engineer. You know, they keep it all together. They are the glue that keeps me together. And just because my name is on the marquee, it doesn't mean I do what I want to do. Because as much as I want to do what I want to do, I have to be in accordance to what the laws are in the radio industry. And that person that I'm talking about is the CEO of our network. My brother, but also my pain in my butt. Just when I'm getting out of line, he tries to reel me back in, and it's a fight. But the thing is, you know, this is his network, and we do the best that we can together. And I'm very proud of what we do. So with that said, you talked to him on the break when I lost a little bit of connection with you guys. But I'm going to bring him back on because he's got some pertinent information he wants to bring to you. So with that said, Myron, would you say hi to the tyrant? I mean, say hi to the CEO of the network, Florentino. Florentino, please say hi to Myron.
That's docked pay right there.
Hey, Florentino. How you doing, buddy?
What's going on, Myron? That's docked pay right there. I had to give him some money earlier, but now I'm going to take it back.
There you go.
You can take it back. That's a CEO for you.
I'm going to start getting some James Brown action up in this joint. You better watch out, brother.
Uh-oh.
You dig it.
Flying some D-ducks around, huh?
Exactly. Yeah, man. Hey, it's been a great show, man. It's been a great show. I love hearing the history. And like we spoke on the break there where, we got a lot in common with some of the folks that we've interacted with. And I've known John for 30 years. And I was trying to call him earlier to see if we couldn't sneak him in to give you a little surprise.
Yeah. Florentino, me too. And he didn't respond.
Yeah. So we hung out a little bit on Sunday, and it's funny how small of a family the music industry really is, isn't it, Myron? Just everyone knows everybody.
It is.
So, I think this has gotten to be a lot more kinder, friendlier industry because you know everybody. You can't get away with it no more. You better not try. You know what I'm saying?
And it gets around, and people know that you're like that. They're like, "Oh, okay, well."
Yeah, don't want to do business. Don't want to do business with that brand. So that's definitely the case. And I always like to bring up in this segment that the reason why we started this network is that the players, the folks that have powered this industry for so long, for a lot longer than we've been doing it. So the spotlight hasn't been on these on our brothers, and that's what we wanted to do with this network is to kind of shed some light on all facets of the music industry, but specifically the players that are out there making the sound happen, like yourself, also having a passion for their own music, like yourself, and how we can really bring that about. And so that's why Intertalk Radio was created, and the whole Intertalk media. And we've got a big thing that's going to be happening in I'm going to make an announcement on this particular episode. We're actually going to be Intertalk Media because we've been doing television now, and we have radio. We've got aspirations to have some more print, but it's all about spotlighting and the talents like yourself, Myron. So just want to let you know that.
Wow.
So,
well, we appreciate it. I mean, it's great to hear. I listened to Morris's interview and John's, and it's really informative. It's great for people to get behind, like Jackie says, get behind the veil and see what it's really like.
Exactly, and and the thing is this that cats like yourselves, man, you get a chance to show a little bit, and I like this day and age as much as I think social media is a pain in the butt because it takes a whole lot of time and energy to kind of keep up with it. It does let you connect with the fans, and so that's one of the things we think is very special about this, and we want them to, if they haven't already connected with you, we want them to find out how to connect with you right now. So do a shout out and tell us what your URLs are, your social media, however you want to do that. If you make those sounds, the sounds from what was that one movie, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. If you talk to people like in keyboard, dialogue, hey man, we want people to know how to do it. Man.
Oh, well, you can connect to the MyronMcKinleyTrio.com. That's Facebook or website. MyronMcKinley.com is also there. That's right now. Those are the two main ones to connect with.
Okay. Are you on social media? Do you have a Facebook page? Like your
Facebook page is the Myron McKinley Trio. Facebook also. Myron McKinley on Facebook. You can connect that way. And a lot of information of upcoming shows will be on there, especially on the Myron McKinley Trio Facebook page.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, hey, brother, we're going to be doing a big thing at NAMM, and hopefully we get a chance to connect with you there. And that's what I was trying to reach out to John today about. So we'll let a little bit more out as we go, but we are going to be known as Intertalk Media. Obviously, the radio is going to be part of everything that we do. It's going to be this is going to be the hub, if you will, of everything that we do. But we've got videos that we're going to be doing, educational videos. We've been doing a lot of gear videos, and that's in partnership with our good friends over at Pitbull Audio. We do a lot of gear ones. We forgot actually this Sunday, kind of in a little different markets, that we're doing a live AMA or Q&A, if you will, of an artist, Steve Pfister, who's been a guy who's played with a lot of different people, rock side, rock blues side. He's his own recording artist, as well as playing with Steppenwolf and Lita Ford and Steve Vai. And so we're going to be doing something from his studio this Sunday. So there's going to be some fun stuff that we've got coming up. And
looking forward to hear that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hey, if you're around, if you're not peeled to we're going up against the NFL, man. So I don't know how well we're going to fare this Sunday, but we figured we'd give it a shot. Musicians may or may not necessarily be huge football fans. So
I think it's going to do great.
Well, I hope so. We have fun with it, and it's definitely a blessing. And and we've got some cool stuff. And I don't want to take too much longer. I know that Jackie's got you guys. It didn't sound like you guys have even scratched the surface. So I'm gonna pass it back to Jackie to let him continue on with this great interview.
All right,
perfect, man.
Pleasure.
Nice meeting you, brother.
Okay, now let's get back to this. Thank you, Florentino. So let me ask you this question, brother. I have this question because I just know what it's like to be on stage, and I want to feel like I'm sitting down on your stool right now. So when you're up there playing with a huge band, as Earth, Wind, and Fire, the musicians, I think I'm counting 11, maybe 12, but nonetheless, when you are sitting there and you're directing musically as the MD, when you are sitting there, I haven't seen you because you're surrounded by everything itself. I'm curious, and so are the listeners, musicians out there, on a stage of that size, on a group of that size. Are you in-air monitors, or do you still favor the ambient wedge?
Hello?
Are you there? Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you now. Sorry, I lost you for a second.
No worries. So the question was, when you're on stage with that many musicians, are you in-air monitors, or are you still a fan of the ambient wedge?
I definitely am of the ambient, but we are in-ears because it's just, depending on the stages, it's too close for the mics to pick up of all the other instruments right now.
The bleed.
So luckily we have a really good engineer guy on the side, Terrence. Terrence does a great job. He did Stevie as well, and he kills it. So we don't have to really worry about too much about that. But it's nothing like hearing that air being pushed by a speaker behind you. It's nothing like that.
What doesn't Myron want to hear in your ears?
Usually I don't want to hear what's in the box, like, the little extra stuff that's being played. Like, I don't want to hear that. I want to hear the band. I want to hear the live instrument. So I usually don't try to hear too much of the stuff that's in the box, unless it's immediately pertinent to the song.
Right.
Like maybe there's a section that we did where it's just like the electric stuff that we put in there. Then I want to hear that. But as far as anything else, no. Just let me hear the band. As long as we're killing, that's great.
When you're on stage and you're killing it itself, are you taking any direction from your sound guys in your monitors, in your ears, of stuff that they're not hearing that you can circumvent or your tech can take care of that you can't reach?
Yeah, I have a mic on the side of my stage that goes to everybody's ears. So when things change, I tap on a button down by my feet, and I can talk to everybody and tell them what the next song is or what needs to be changed, or if somebody needs something. That I'm connected to the engineer and everybody on stage.
Okay.
So when Philip changes something really quick, I'll hit the button and tell everybody, and everybody knows. so we don't have to turn around. We can just still keep playing.
Yeah, and we talked on the break. I wanted to find out something that's very important to me because, you know, we work our asses off all of our lives. We take the gigs we don't want just so that we can afford the equipment that we've always dreamed about having. Then, fast forward 20 years later, or actually, you know, fast forward 5 years after that fact, we get picked up by the major companies. And we're very, very blessed because they're using our likeness, they're using our name, they're using our history to better, you know, to do the greater good for their product. And as I mentioned, my fact of LP and Sabian and so on. So with that said, I want you to give a shout out to the people who feed you your rig, and I want to know why you've chosen those companies. And so did my audience.
Okay. I love Kurzweil. Kurzweil has always been a help for me. The bed they used was a Fatar bed, and so the piano and the Rhodes sound and the actual bed and keyboard was great. Recently, Roland came out with the RD2000, and that thing is a beast. That's what I've been playing for this last couple tours. And Roland, one thing about Roland is whatever they're going to make, if it says it's going to do it, you can trust it's going to do that. So the piano and the Rhodes and everything that's in there, you can control, you can make. It's a designer board. So you know, if you want the stock, there's a bunch of other ones you can find. But if you want to really make something that's going to speak and just be yours, that's what it's for. Ravencroft Pianos makes pianos, and they made me a custom keyboard. It's just an amazing touch to feel that, and I use that with Spectrasonic Keyscape. I'm working with them at NAMM as well, and so it's just, you know, I've been blessed to work with a lot of great designers of equipment, and it's helped make that stage be what it is. You know, to actually be able to take the RD2000 and go ahead and make an old Rhodes like Larry used, or go make a piano that's twangy and a different kind of feel that was played on the album. That's what makes the show still swing authentic, because you can make those custom sounds or design them in Keyscape. Something like you can design them there. So I want to thank all those guys for being a part.
Shout out to those boys, man. Absolutely. You know, we got this thing coming up January 25th to January 28th called the NAMM Show, NAMM, National Association of Music Merchants, Anaheim, California. You'll be easier to get into Fort Knox than you can get into NAMM. So don't ask if I can get tickets for you guys. This doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah.
And with that said, let me ask you this question, brother. And this is very, very important to me. Actually, it's a question my wife came up with, and I've been using it since day one, and I'll never stop asking this question because the response is pretty incredible. So here's the question I'm throwing at you from my wife. If the word music was never introduced, or even in the vocabulary, the word music, if it wasn't in your life, what would Myron be doing today?
I'd probably be teaching martial arts. I have several black belts, so that's also a love I have. So I would probably be somewhere teaching it.
Simple as that. That's perfect, man. I mean, I can't wait for the answer. I can't wait because there's usually a pause. There's usually like an 8-beat. And the response are amazing.
I love both of them the same. I kind of feel like, you know, musicians, especially if you go back to, that was a part of being a warrior. You had to have the other side of it as well. So, you know, a lot of the samurais were poets. So I look at what I do as, you know, playing piano and express helps to be a part of the martial arts as well.
All right, and here's another question I want to ask, something I've always asked, and we've got 2 minutes to ask this, so quick answer, quick question, quick answer. Where were you, what were you doing when you first heard yourself on the radio? Share with me.
Myself, I was sitting in my single apartment in front of a speaker listening to the song that I produced on the radio.
Did you shed a tear?
Time.
You shed a tear?
Oh, absolutely. Cry like a baby.
That's it, man. Because I was talking to Saida Garrett, and Saida was on the 405 freeway. Doesn't know if she was going north or south, but she heard Man in the Mirror. And she had to pull off the freeway in the most, she goes, unfavorable area that she pulled off, but she couldn't see past her tears. You know, I remember the first time I heard myself was at Fashion Island, Newport Beach, picking my wife up for lunch, and I heard a song called Same World that I recorded percussion with Michael McDonald and Henry Capono. I cried. You know, and I tell everybody else, I wish every musician would get that opportunity. and it never gets old.
Yeah.
You know, I could be walking out of a bathroom, out of, you know, a McDonald's in Barstow on the way to Vegas, and I can hear myself the tune I did with Big Mountain, Baby, I Love Your Way, you know, or, you know, songs with Brian Wilson and the Beach Boys. I stop and I just smile. People probably think I'm crazy, but that's okay also. But
you can't help it. That's a part of you there. That's going to live on forever. That's a part of you.
It's a God-blessed, you know, situation that the good Lord above bestowed on us, man. And we gotta make that shine every day of our life, man. So, but I want to say to you, my brother, that I feel like I've known you for years, man. I thank you for accepting the invitation. And everybody here at Intertalk, we also want to throw back something to you. When Myron has something new coming out, when you have a new project coming out and it needs promotion, please reach out to us. Please allow us to help you promote. We have a great thing called Recap Friday. Yeah, and Recap Friday, we're bringing back all the stars that we've interviewed over the last couple of years to find out what's going on in their lives right now. So we'll push this back and we'll find out what's going on. So with that said, my brother, we are done. This interview is done, man. And I thank you immensely.
It was a pleasure being here with you. Thank you.
Man, everybody, too, you know, when you go on to Intertalk Radio, scroll down to episodes on demand, look for Myron McKinley. We'll have all the links there you need to get a hold of. And please reach out to this man and support him. And Myron, keep Sunday morning jamming, keep September moving, keep all the songs, man, In the Stone, et cetera, man, and keep the trio going strong. So with that said, guys, my name is Jackie Bertoni. Jackie's Groove, brought to you by Intertalk Radio. You connect to all things music with my in-studio guest, the incomparable Mr. Myron McKinley. Myron, as I said to all my segments by saying 3 words: peace through music. I love you, brother. You've now been jumped.
Amen.
Talk to you soon, brother. God bless.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al DiMeola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear from Eclectica Studios. I'm a full-time mixing and recording engineer. I work with Grammy winners, labels, and indie artists, using state-of-the-art digital mixing and restoration tools and the very best in analog gear. Really, though, it's my ability to bring tracks to life and fulfill your vision for your music. This has made me sought after by producers and artists worldwide. So spend your time working on music and not chasing a mix down a rabbit hole. Go to timdolbear.com and check out our free one-song mix offer.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.